I wanted to start with a few words regarding the Trusted Computing Group. We are a non-for-profit organization, and we are standardizing trusted computing technologies, and basically which is supportive of hardware root of trust for interoperability and for worldwide adoption. We have around about 100 members worldwide, and with representatives on one hand from companies, means from enterprises, from academia, from experts, as well as with government liaisons. And with this one, I wanted to start and give you an overview and a kickoff for the day, and basically give you an overview where TCG sees at the moment where we are and what work items do we still have to do to make the cloud more secure. So let me start with some fundamentals. And Jean-Paul already mentioned virtualization. Virtualization is a very important concept for cloud computing. And TCG sees the approach to cloud computing from a consumer perspective. So we're not coming from the enterprise perspective, we're looking from a consumer perspective. And what does the consumer or user want to do? Basically, he wants to store data and applications, back up data, allow collaboration, and replace this data center. And what kind of devices are interacting basically with the cloud? On one hand is the old PC, the PC client. We have mobile platforms. We have in the future embedded devices, Internet of Things, think about, virtualized servers, and then also extensive networking. And all these components play a role in this kind of standard. In total, there are 8 components. You will see it. I will not touch everything. I will only go into a little bit more detail of 4 components. So how is cloud different? And it is that the user normally does not own the cloud infrastructure. And that means the user is normally not in control of the data. And the recent events which seem to have, especially in US, caused major hiccups, it's this time Apple with the iCloud. It shows that we easily click on the so-called SLAs, the license agreement, and we normally don't read all the details. And that's basically the legal foundation, how you interact with cloud and cloud computing. So you agree basically to the terms and conditions, and basically today's SLAs are pretty much in favor of cloud providers. So what are these 8 components? And this is where we try to establish standardization. It starts with the clients. It has to go with servers, with the networks. Then we need standardized policies and credentials, standards and reference models, trusted applications, cloud trust management authority, and storage. And I can only address some of them. These are the 8 components I mentioned. And I only will address right now 4 of them, where the TCG is trying to put standards into place. So what is the major topic at hand? We need trusted components for so-called multi multi-tenant infrastructure. And this TMI is the major thrust of our initiative. And that means you have 3 major components here. You establish a level of trust between parties, then exchange information with parties within the bounds of a trusted relationship, and last but not least, you enforce a policy using integrity management and measurements, assertions and attestations which are exchanged between the different parties. And that means you have to identify executable policy statements and information sources, things, decision authorities, execution points, and policy hierarchies. And this is not trivial in the standardization side, and I will go into this topic a little bit in more detail. So where does it start? It starts with Virtualized Platform. It's the base for the secure multi-tenancy. And you see there on the bottom, on one hand, the physical TPM, but as soon as you go up in the server, you are immediately into virtualized TPMs. And these are the software TPMs you talked about, but all the servers on the bottom have in the concept and in the standards we are providing as a hardware root of trust, a physical TPM as this root of trust. Above that, you have the virtual machine, and then different operating systems can run on top of these virtual machines, and it can be guest OSs, Linux-based, Windows-based. Here you have a plethora of options which we have to foresee in the standards regarding migratability of virtual machines. From that, you add now the component cloud. And that means you need between different cloud providers basically a migration authority to establish trust and to measure trust. And this is the next dimension. The next component is our TMI reference model, which I wanted to share with you. And this is basically based on the consumer and assumes that a user has local data in the cloud and that the cloud will allow to migrate data when a user is, for example, traveling around the world and has his mobile data basically going from one enterprise provider to where he has his data stored locally, provides it to the enterprise provider, and when he travels and wants to have his data with him in other regions, we have then, or on mobile devices instead of a PC client, he has then a cloud service provider. And here you can see that you have to take into consideration migrations between storage on the enterprise side and the cloud service provider, as well as on the user device, so that you have multi-access between, on one hand, a user device, a PC client, for example, and a mobile device. And this is the fundamental reference model which we have in mind. So basically, as I already mentioned, from a consumer side, to cover this use case. So when it comes to authentication and authorization and vetting in a trusted cloud, there are fundamental 5 questions. Who are you? What are you? And what TCG has not done so far, and where we have to put now emphasis on, is where are you? So the topic is that we have to put tags on data because the recent events over the last year had put up the topic of where data can be held, and that means you have to combine location data with the data which you store in the cloud. Is certain requirements in certain areas need that the data is not migratable. Today, cloud service provider optimize normally their load on a worldwide basis, and this means that data is moved, for example, from the United States to Europe, vice versa. These kind of things are getting more challenges under the aspect of trust, and that means that data and location is getting linked together. That means that you can do with an hardware TPM attestation about the location and combine that with the data where it's stored and that it cannot migrate to other locations. So then the next one is, can I trust you? That means the attestation has to build into the environment. And this is an interesting part. And then what are you authorized to do? What kind of changes are you allowed to do as a user? And here that creates a framework for evaluation, and what can you do as a user can basically is a trust matrix. And the trust matrix and harm you can do in the cloud can be measured, and it's one of the models we try to standardize by 6 areas against harm. And it's measured by potential impact, and that means the first one is just inconvenience. The second one means that we are already causing through impacts financial losses. The third one from a severity is reputation loss. Then the next one is unauthorized releases of data. And then last but not least, impact on personal safety, and the highest one would be even civil or criminal violations. And these kind of trust matrix is something which we have to take into consideration when we standardize things and when we are migrating between different cloud service providers. Here, major standardization is in works, but is still at the beginning of overall standards within our framework. Then last but not least, on the standard side, we have also things to do on the server side. And here it's work in progress. The first part, the virtualized platform, is more or less done. What we have to do is still to provide on the open source side adoption that certain software has to be developed. It's basically virtual TPM open source software, and then create a community around it. We have virtualized TPMs from certain vendors, but for adoption purposes, open source virtualized TPMs would be is our goal to do. And then last but not least here on this one, this trusted migration authorities is an open topic. These trust matrix is the first step in the direction of standardizing them, but we discovered that as a major work item. So these authority requirements can be addressed by these migration authorities. These migration authorities, and this is the general framework where we have to then go deeper. It guarantees that the target platform can be trusted before the migration happens. It guarantees that TPM rules are not violated, and it guarantees that content confidentiality is ensured. So you have to have, when you migrate from one trusted site into the next site, you have to compare first these values and make sure that the new cloud can be trusted. And this means multi-tenancy and multi-tenancy migration. And this is the hard part here of the standardization which we have in front of us for the next years. I gave a cloud overview in 2012, so we made progress. We introduced the TPM 2.0 with new hardware features, especially with updated cryptography. So that has been released. We have certain reference models. We have already the rollout of some platforms from an enterprise side, but here this topic is the hard part in the standardization. And that means we have to work together. So there are other standards organizations which play an important role in this overall effort. It's the Cloud Security Alliance, it's ENISA, it's FedRAMP, NIST is involved, ISO, ITU, and then DMTF. And on the open software side, I don't want to miss here OpenStack, but I couldn't put this on the picture. So we have here a lot of stakeholders in this topic of standardization in trusted cloud environment. So I basically addressed only these four circles. One important mentioning is storage. The TCG has been quite successful to establish self-encrypting drives. Self-encrypting drives today are becoming servers by itself, and obviously encryption of data is a major cornerstone of a trusted cloud, and the self-encrypting drive from that perspective has been proven as very resilient and is being offered from a large number of commercial enterprises already today. I would say on that side, mission really already accomplished. The other ones are work in progress. So in summary, I wanted to say TPMs and trusted computing are essential for the cloud. The TPM is today an affordable mass market product. It's pervasive, and from that perspective, a logical choice to be the hardware root of trust. The Trusted Computing Group does not and cannot solve the entire cloud security problem. We need to work with major players. We need to reach out to the other standards organization. And we need a cohesive, complete solution. At the moment, these are kind of patchwork. And with that one, it does not have to be the field of dreams paradigm, because we can dream our perfect architecture. That does not work. We have here to work together to find solutions which can be sold, which can be adopted, and which are implementable. And therefore, we have to advertise the game as a group and then sell the tickets.